Welcome to Gray Areas for November 18th, 2025, episode 699. Next week is episode 700. We will be live and hopefully doing something fun for that episode. We'll see if I have a computer that's working by then or not, which is still up in the air at the moment that we're recording this. At this time, Sean and I are actually gone. So we recorded this early, and we decided what better way to get a full episode in advance than to review one of the leading candidates for Game of the Year this year, especially because Hades ended up being, I think, 7th in our redone Best Game Ever picks from a couple years ago. So Hades 2 is of great interest to see how we liked it as a group. And look who's here. Jason is back. The last time Jason did a video game review, we talked for Persona 5 for 4.5 hours.
Oh, yeah.
True.
And Maisie's also here.
We're going to do that again today. 4.5 hours Hades 2 review.
Oh.
Yeah.
Another version.
Welcome to our Hades 2 review, where we're going to talk Persona 5.
Yeah, we're talking about Persona 5. Yeah.
I think it's funny to have Maisie come on and give her impressions of it, because we've done that with like me and Jason, and then Sean got to do a review with Royal, and then Dave got to do a review later. So like we're just going to keep reviewing Persona 5.
I don't even remember it.
This will be a mostly spoiler-free review. We're going to talk about a few things that are revealed in the earlier parts of the game and not talk about the ending, which was quite divisive. We'll talk kind of about why, but not specifics. So just know that if you haven't played through the game yet, it hasn't been out all that long, you are pretty safe here. We'll talk about some logistics and the setup of 2 and kind of how it all works, but that's all like the first couple of hours you see that stuff. So you should be relatively safe here with us.
Yes. Where do you want to start? Because there's a lot of different areas that we can tackle.
Well, the biggest picture stuff I have was going to be ending stuff, which we can't touch. Early access stuff, which doesn't make sense to start with.
Sure.
If that makes more sense later as like a finished result, polished type of thing. I don't know. Gameplay is probably the biggest difference between 1 and 2, so maybe we start there.
We can do that. Yeah. I loved where it ended up. It was a bit of a transition for me. So I think coming from the first game, you probably have a smoother experience if for whatever reason you started with Hades 2. I think starting in Hades 1, you get used to how the attacks work, how the specials work, the weird magic thing that I never used.
I liked it.
And then I think primarily the dashing, right? So in Hades 2, you can dash. And I think, Chris, you actually did a lot, whereas I was sprinting a lot. So you dash and then you hit the sprinting, and some of the enemies actually require you to keep that sprint going. So that was a big change for me. And then the Omega attacks and the Omega specials when you hold down the thing, which unlocks, like, I loved it because now it's not just am I using normal attacks or specials. It's like, am I using the normal attack or the Omega attack, which is totally different. And then, so you're doubling or tripling your options every playthrough. And I thought that was really fun.
I agree.
It's too much for my brain.
Do you like pick 1 or 2 things and just lock in on that for the run?
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, and even still, like the boons or whatever, they'll be like, "Oh, they increase your Omega." I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" Like, and I literally have to
use it sometimes.
Well, I know, but I literally have to I know it by X or Y. Like, which button do I press? And I need to read like the little fine print of like, what does this do? Do I like that for that weapon? And so it's too much for my brain.
Sure.
I mean, I think I disagree that it's easier to go from like Hades 2 to Hades 1. I think it's a typical, you're going to play Hades. I started trying to play Hades 2, and I had to retrain myself not to try to sprint, or that like holding down didn't matter and it's just dash everywhere. Like I feel like you lose a lot of options because I think Hades 2 took everything Hades 1 had and just improved it. Because like you said, your dodge is a sprint, which means you're not just trying to like tap it at the right time. It's just you can glide through it, and it, the Omegas open up everything. The fact that your cast is not a ranged projectile and is in fact sort of a field, like a stationary field from this get-go. There were times in Hades 1, especially when you pick a ranged weapon like the bow, where like, why do I need a cast? Why do I need a ranged attack with my ranged weapon? Whereas there is no weapon in Hades 2 that is effectively a stationary field that remains on. I know there are like some that can duplicate that at times. But like, I guess my point is they picked 3 different, you had your cast is different enough from your special and your attack, and each one of them has an Omega, and that's not even factoring in the moon stuff that you get access to. On top of the sprint and the dash, they took everything that you can customize and build a run around in Hades 1, and they more than doubled it. And I think that that's really like, it's just solid across the board. If you like Hades 1, if you enjoyed it, there's literally just more to do in Hades 2. But it's the same gameplay, effectively. It's just more nuanced.
To be clear, I'm saying it's starting at Hades 2, not Hades 2 going back, because that would be just saying like someone who doesn't have all the preconceived stuff, they might have an easier time with 2 than if they come from 1 to 2, where it's you have to retrain your brain a little bit, like you said. But Chris, what do you think?
I was guilty of that because I double dashed everywhere in Hades 1.
Yeah.
It was constant. It was faster. It was fun. You just hammered the button until you were satisfied. Yep. And I forgot about sprint for the first 5 or 6 runs of this game. Just forgot about it. And as you're going through the open fields in particular, you're just like, oh my God, this is massive. It's taking forever. What's happening? It's like, oh, it's me. It's a me problem. I fucked up.
Yeah.
I think the comparisons are inevitable between 1 and 2, so it's foolish to try and save them for the end. So to me, it's like the cast changes the way I want to play this game in good ways.
Yeah.
It's funny because the one way where I am stubborn and want to go back to the Hades 1 is that I usually try and take boons that give me a ranged cast. But then I still play around it in this game because it's still going to freeze enemies within the field and lock them in place and move around it. So I was very insistent upon I didn't like runs where I didn't have that, where the field just dropped around me. Didn't like it. I want to be able to throw it out there, but everything else, Omega stuff and everything else, I adapted pretty quickly. To me, coming into this as a person who didn't touch it in early access at all and fought off the temptation, this feels way more balanced than the first game. I'm sure some of that is the byproduct of early access and how much more hype there was around this after the first was successful, but it does feel like damn near everything is viable in one way or another, and that's cool.
Yeah, well, and I think it's interesting because I probably am one of the worst ones here at it, I would say. So I liked in Hades 2, in Hades 1, so much of it was like button mashing. And I know it's button mashing to dash and play defensive, but then also counterattack. But I'm just like my hand would get cramped. It was a lot. And I appreciated the option because of so much of the Omega attacks and specials and casts to be really thoughtful about my positioning and then drop, it's one button press, drop a thing, and then I leave again. So I would find that I'm at the end of a run and my hand is feeling great because it was more about positioning and dropping stuff than it was about constantly attacking and dodging, which got tiring for me at some point.
Took me a while to get used to that, but I agree. I like to button mash, and so the idea of fucking sitting there and holding a button made my heart die because it's I should be doing something. But now Sean and I were just talking. I got an upgrade for a weapon. But it'll when you do it, it'll attack consistently later. Yeah,
the staff,
and so I can run away and do something else while that's happening, and so it's really cool.
Yeah.
I like Transistor. Okay, I'm sporting my shirt here. And a lot of Transistor is you wait for your memory to fill, for those of you who haven't played it, and then you sort of pause and you plan out an entire attack, and then you hit play, and Red will just sort of go boom, 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 and she'll rush through and do it all. So in that game, and then you're sort of out of memory, and you have to kind of position yourself or dodge or survive, and then you find your position right where you want, and then you pause, you queue up your attacks, and sometimes they're just really big alphas to push enemies into other enemies or do whatever. There's a certain element of that in this where you position yourself correctly, and then you hold your giant axe in the air and then bring it down and it does a huge swing or something. And then you got to position yourself again and then wait for your mana to refill and then hold it up again and do it again. I get some of that in Hades 2 that was completely absent from Hades 1.
Yeah.
Which I like because it allows a little bit more of a thoughtful play style instead of just, can I spam dash between stuff and whap people for enough damage.
And if you want to do that, you can, right? Like it's still there. And some of the weapons are really, a lot of the weapons are really well suited to do that. Get right up in their face, fast attacks, like DPS is through the roof. But then if you don't like that, or you want to be able to focus more on dodging, there's a lot of options for dropping attack down, having those passives going, and then focusing on like not taking it to the face.
Some of them are even, what's fun is like you can get in betweens. I like the Artemis daggers, for example, because the daggers are nice and fast and you get a lot of that, but then you can basically just hold it, absorb an attack, and then it'll teleport behind and do a ton of damage. So in some ways, your positioning with it is to do a bunch of damage, and then your position is I want to put myself into a big attack because I'll deflect it, and then I can go into hit. So like there's even some ways that they let you do a bit of both or kind of branch out or whatever. I just think overall, I think it's really well designed. I think there are only a handful of weapons that I looked at and I was like, I don't know why I'd ever use this. Whereas like in Hades 1, I never even unlocked a lot of them. Like I felt like it was much easier to unlock the different weapon types, and it was much easier to find the ones that worked with my playstyle in Hades 2. Which I feel like did not happen in Hades 1. When I booted up my save again, I had maybe 1 or 2 of each weapon type, and then I had not gotten around to unlocking the other ones. And I don't know if I just didn't bother to do it or if I had never figured it out. I don't remember that far back. But Hades 2, it felt achievable. There's a little list. You know what resources you need. You can put it together and boom, go from there.
I think similarly, the boons also reflect that better balance. There were plenty of times in Hades 1 where you'd look at something and think it was garbage.
Yep.
And there were several things that were like, I don't want to say must get, but if you got them, you're like, all right, well, this is the run now because I have this and that's what we're going to base this on. And again, there's some clunkers in there and some things are just play style specific. But in 2, there was never a time when like anybody showed up. You know, I wasn't a huge fan of most of what Hermes had to offer, but I'm never like, oh my God, Hermes. I'm like, well, all right, let's see if we can find one of those things I like from Hermes. And usually you could, especially if you carried 10 rerolls like I did. So like there were plenty of ways to make any of the gods work, even if they weren't necessarily your favorite. And sometimes I would switch it up just based on what was available or what weapon I had. That also felt a lot better than the first game where it was like, I'm not going to say I forced it, but there were a lot of times in Hades 1 where it was just like, I want this, and I'm going to go after this until I find it, because this is how I'm going to play this run.
Well, there were certain weapons in the first Hades where it was like, I unlocked everything in the first Hades, and some of it was like, it's a slog to get through, and I don't remember which weapon exactly, but I remember doing those runs. It's like, well, I'll get through it because I have to. And there's some element to all of the weapons in this game that I really enjoyed. The daggers, I like using it as the special, getting the shotgun and blasting it out. Yep. The staff I already talked about, laying down the beam that goes out is really fun. I like spinning with the axe a lot, even though it opens you up for a ton of damage. I still think it's too much fun.
Which I never spin with the axe. I always
you do the
see
slam,
me play. I do the
too.
slam all the time. Yeah.
So I think like that makes it really fun. And the way that the Daedalus hammer opens up a lot of stuff too. The skull, I don't really love the skull, but there's an option where you shoot them all at once. So now you can create like 4 like missiles that drop down and explode. So there's some element to every weapon. I'm like, okay, this is really fun and I'm having a great time. And I think that speaks to that balance a whole lot.
No, I agree. The Daedalus hammer itself, I don't know that I remember enough of the upgrades from the first game. But they just feel more balanced this time around. Like I get some of them and I'm like, ooh, this is exactly what I need. Or, oh, that sounds fun. Let's try it. Whereas I don't know if it was always good in the first game, but I feel, was it just a stat increase a lot of times? I don't know. I don't ever remember it being.
I don't think they changed it to where like it fundamentally alters the experience of the weapon as often as they do in this game.
Yeah.
That's my recollection, but
yeah.
I guess this is a good chance while we're talking about both, just to kind of quickly go over like what weapons did you lean on, what boons or gods did you tend to favor when it came to your own play styles? Because everybody has a few.
I was going to ask that too, so that's funny. Well, I was going to say I'm going to wait on the gods for now because I think there's a whole thing I can say on them. My favorite weapon absolutely was the staff, and I hinted at that. But you can get, so I like the third staff down. I don't remember the aspect name, but it's the one where it
Momos, I
drops the
believe.
Omega attack 3 times.
Hmm.
You can get a Daedalus Hammer where it drops twice for every one. So now it's going 6 times. And then if you get the cross, when it's dropping, you just fucking melt people. And it's so fun. And it's, again, it's the thing that I like of being kind of thoughtful on positioning. You drop it, and then you drop a cast, and then you know, go around the level and see where you can do it again. I just had a lot of fun with that, and probably secondary the axe, just for that high DPS. I like, even if I'm taking damage, if I'm also melting enemies and bosses, that's a lot of fun for me.
I think I'm in a similar boat to Sean. I think the first run I ever beat it with was with the staff, although I think it was like a special build where I would just go zap, not the Omega special. I just go pop, 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 and it was like Zeus lightning bolts all over the place. So I'm just like, and I think it was lightning bolts, and it itself would ricochet. So it would ricochet into more lightning bolts that would chain lightning into others.
Yeah.
So like there were some fun builds. I like the staff, even the version you liked, and then I was you've seen me use the axe like a million times. And then I think my third favorite is easily the
black coat.
the punchy punch. Yeah,
Yep.
black coat. I do enjoy the black coat. I like
Oh.
targeting everything, dropping stuff down. I have tried the alternate variants of it. Sometimes it's just the basic one, just being able to go super fast. Is like the way to go. And I've only recently unlocked the Nyx one because it took forever for it to give me a flux that I needed. And it's like fine, I think. I don't know. I think the speed boost on the Millennium version of it is probably better. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun just like charging up, eating like a boss attack, and then hitting them for an obscene amount of damage. Like that's a lot of fun, especially if you can get that to mix with certain boons that just increase that one damage a lot or whatever. Like yeah, those are my big 3, I would say.
I think that's interesting because the black coat and the daggers is probably represents the base Hades 1 experience the most, and those are the weapons I kind of liked the least in this one. But you really liked it, and I think that's great. That's what you want, is us to be able to have different favorite ones. What about you, Maisie, so far? You haven't done all the weapons yet, but what have you liked the most?
And I think that's what's interesting. In Hades 1, I was so excited to try all of them, figure them all out. And like, I did like a challenge. I don't remember the thing, but I was like, I want to beat a run with every weapon and like really understand all of them. And in Hades 2, I'm like, I don't care about the other whatever. Like, I know what I like, so you can fuck right off. And like, I feel really sad about that.
So what do you use?
But so my below, the first one I beat was with the ice cream cones.
Yeah, those are good.
Which I really enjoy with, I think it's the one,
just the Omega attack.
Whatever.
Yeah, where
you can literally just hold it.
Yeah.
And she's like, pew, 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 pew. But then the staff is when I first beat.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yep. I think, Chris, you also like the ice cream cones.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
2 different varieties of them because I like the base form of them, and I like the one where you also get the little like orb that goes around and blasts everything when you charge up.
Yep.
I think, honestly, the key to me beating the game for the first time was getting the fuck off the witch's staff, which I don't think is bad by any means, but did not click with me whatsoever, and I stuck with it for way too long.
Oh, no.
And again, that's on me. But once I switched over, I started beating the thing left and right. And it was like, okay, so now I have something I feel better with, because now it's like, okay, it's not just the range, because the staff has range. It's the mobility and the range combined that I really clicked with the ice cream cones, as Maisie called them.
Yeah.
And like, I liked the axe. I did use the black coat quite a bit. I'd never really got anything out of the sister blades, the daggers. Wasn't for me. I can see other people liking them. And again, it's awesome that there's really, like, there's viable stuff for all of them, and someone's favorite doesn't even mean they're wrong. It's just, that's what clicked for them with their preferences. So,
and I imagine I like the skulls more than anybody here.
I think I've beaten it with everything but the skulls. I even did a run with the ice cream cones, the torches. I think I just did one with the daggers, because again, I like that Artemis one. So like, because even though you can't backstab one of the final bosses, you can proc the parry and then do a ton of damage. So like, there are ways to make things work. But like, the skulls, I've never had a successful run, and I think I've tried them like once maybe.
I've seen complaints about like what are they thinking with the pacing of the skulls, because it can be so jarring because you have to fire them and you have to go get them.
Yes.
But it is a different approach. If you're trying to play it the same way, yeah, you're gonna struggle. But I've had a lot of fun with them, and like again, that's like I think that's fun. Everybody can find something that works, and it's well balanced for that.
The one time I really enjoyed the skull was the time I got the dataless hammer that let me not have to reload them. They just kept regenerating. So that told me I was probably playing the wrong weapon type.
Right.
Yeah.
So in talking about the boons, though, I also think, Chris, you touched on this, like you'll get boons in the first game where you're like, like I think Demeter, I think across the board was just not very good. In the first one.
I disagree.
In the first one?
Yeah. Demeter was my fucking girl.
Okay.
She had the best cast, which I was apparently the only
that's why
fucking
I didn't
one
know.
who used cast in the first game.
Maisie's correct, because I did the same thing. The one that creates a turret that like freezes enemies, right? Yeah,
So
no, I did that a
good.
lot in the first game too.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it's incredibly
No.
good. Yeah.
I disagree. Demeter was fantastic.
I want to say, Chris can back this up. Like if there was a meta for Hades 1, I think Demeter was near the bottom.
Maybe.
I think so.
But that one cast
that's
was
probably true.
clutch.
Whereas like
I agree.
what's her face was S tier at the top, and to Chris's point, like if you got that, you had to the deflect. I wish I could remember her name.
Artemis.
Artemis. No.
Athena.
Thank you. It was
Athena.
Athena.
But
Yeah.
Artemis had to have been good too, because she shot all those missiles all the time.
She was.
Also
And again, there was
really
nothing
good.
like awful in the first game. It's just the gap was a lot wider between the haves and the have-nots. If you were making like a tier list of how viable things were, the gap was way wider in the first one than the second one.
Yeah. Whereas like everybody here, because I've now gotten, I think I finished now all the duos and all the legendaries. So that involves you taking a bunch of boons from a bunch of different people, and like you can make everything work. I probably like Hephaestus the least, but I think Jason, you kind of like Hephaestus and like the explosions.
It depends on the build I'm going for. There are some where I just want to just go womp and do a ton of damage. It really here's the thing. I feel like Hephaestus is good at saving a build, or like I don't. It's tough to describe because there's the way like the multipliers work. Sometimes having pluses to damage, and then the base power is always going to be better than him, where he just says, "Hey, I do like a flat 400." Except that like on the sprint for him, if you just sprint to somebody and do a flat amount of damage on something that wasn't even an attack, that's pretty game changing. Or if you just were not getting the right multipliers elsewhere, then he can help fix it. I used him a lot. I don't know that he's helped my most successful runs, but there are times that he's saved a run when I needed damage into a void, especially in the upper path when you get to some of the tougher enemies, like sprint into an explosion, and I'd have like a Daedalus hammer or one of his, I think, is like the explosions deal more damage to armor. So you could just sprint past enemies with armor and it would hit them and it would chunk like. Well, and I think he's good at filling that role. Yeah.
You bring up a good point too. I feel like if you were tier listing in Hades 2, you would have to go on where are you at? If you're a beginner level and you're trying to get your first win, I think the Aphrodite Demeter combo where you're slowing down enemies and you're weakening them is like really OP. And then later when you're more advanced, you know more of the patterns and you can really spec for more damage, let's say, you can kind of move on past them to like some of the other ones like Zeus and some of the others. So
and some of it also depends on weapon types. You know, Aphrodite is going to be much better for the axe than she is for the ice cream cones because
you're right there.
You can still do the damage up close with those, but you really don't find yourself in that spot very often.
Yeah.
So some of it's always going to be tied to, you know, specific stuff. But
and I have found that gods that I like, Apollo, I ignored him for the longest time. But I've done runs where I'm like, I'm just going to do Apollo. Let's just see if I can make something work. And if I had the Staff of Momos, especially, or the Axe, his ability to just increase the radius of everything that you do turned like my Axe specials into screen clears, or like the Momo staff that would duplicate your charge, your Omegas on your staff. Now that's wider too. Like you could just set up kill boxes basically. Is really solid, actually. Like Doug, I know, is a fan of the thing where your cast grows with Apollo, and like that's fine if you've got like the Zeus thing where you can put your cast down someplace and it's just killing everything, especially if it's like a lightning frost storm with Demeter and then it keeps growing and getting more people or whatever. Like
Yeah.
there's some good ways. So I don't know. There are even the gods that I was not a big fan of. I have found times in a run where I'm like, I need this. Even Poseidon, if I need health or like to pick up stuff or grind, it's like, no, give me Poseidon, because he'll have the thing where he just gives you tons of extra like bounty or whatever. And like that's been really helpful for times where I'm low on life because I messed up and too many attacks from like an elite boss I bumped into that I just didn't manage very well, or my weapon matchup was really bad. I think that rat has ended more axe runs than anything else that I've ever played. Because you're so slow in between your attacks, he'll just run through you and you're like, ow, okay. So that's been devastating. A lot of times I would just let my cat kill the rat, just run from him the whole time. It does like, I don't want to talk about the rat right now. But like
the PTSD.
But like every god I have found a use for, even when, you know, I was previously ignoring them. I have found where that they are useful in, and they have helped me succeed at runs. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I could say that I have like a least favorite amongst the gods. Like they all do something very special and unique. Like, and there are times I think Ares is incredibly powerful, but there are times I'd rather have Aphrodite or something else.
Yes.
Like, because if I can't get the Ares train rolling, he ain't doing a lot for me. So like, it just seems sort of like a trade-off, and every god is sort of playing towards a certain kind of style or build or leans into certain weapons. And I think that's really good. I didn't feel like that in Hades 1. I felt like, I don't know, there were just some gods I was like, man, why is it them? And I guess I'll just pick the best. So
I feel like Ares especially, and maybe it's just because like I still need to find like my click with Ares, but Ares the first game and this game, I feel like he's dipped. Like I feel like in
foolish.
I think in Hades 1, Ares was fucking amazing. Like his dash was so good with like the spinning swords and stuff. His dash in this game sucks. I don't like it, and I don't like a lot of things. I mean, I understand your little orb.
Yeah, you didn't do it.
I did. I have been. But so because I've been on an Aphrodite Demeter train where I really look for Aphrodite's thing where like when you get near an enemy, you automatically inflict weak and regain magic.
Huge.
That has been like my go-to automatically. And when I started trying to do Ares more, I guess I like ruined that thing. Now I haven't gotten her. Like even with her fucking mirror, I don't get that boon anymore, and I'm so pissed off. It's all Ares' fault.
That's why I take the Arcana that just gives me mana back. I don't know that I've ever taken it off, other than when you do the trials and they take it off for me. Because I don't want to live that life where I have to like go between rooms without mana. I can't do it. I spam like axe specials way too much. That would kill me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But to that point, I didn't really love most of the Ares stuff either. And I think it's funny that, again, it speaks to the game's balance that it's like, okay, but just because it didn't work for me, like the dash with the blades falling, that means I have to dash through enemies. And I'm not typically doing that the way I'm playing, so it doesn't help me much. And I like better casts than the blades dropping on them in the cast circle. But that's just my play style. It doesn't mean it's wrong that like Sean loves Ares in this game. It just means we went about it different ways. Mm-hmm. For me, it was typically one of three approaches. It was either Hestia, Demeter, or Zeus. Zeus with the dual staffs with the chain lightning is pretty ridiculous.
Yep.
The ability to chain a bunch of lightning if you ever took damage was pretty effective at times.
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of his lightning-specific stuff I liked. He had one of the range casts I mentioned, so it was one reason to dabble with him. Hestia ended up being my main go-to for the starter runs, just because there's a few different ways to inflict Scorch and then just build on it.
Yeah,
it isn't specifically like, I need this one boon. It's, okay, maybe it's my attacks, maybe it's my cast, maybe it's whatever. And then Demeter, just because, you know, the ability to freeze people. And she's got two cracks at it, because it can either be the cast or the gusts around the casts that can then significantly help you control the field. Mm-hmm. And then I mixed in some Hephaestus, because as Jason said, like, if you take the common boon that does 200 damage on an attack once every 14 seconds, you're probably going to be underwhelmed by it. But if you get it on the dash and it's heroic and you get it every 2 or 3 seconds, all of a sudden now you're talking a significant game changer. Like clearing out mobs is so easy with that. But again, everything is so viable that it works, and that's what I think is the neatest part.
Yeah, because I love that, because like I didn't really use Hestia very much, and I didn't use what was the other one? We already talked about. I didn't use Hephaestus a whole lot either. Did use Demeter. She's great. But yeah, like Ares, I had a run where I was automatically pulling in the orbs, and the orbs were persistent between rooms. They didn't go away. So I was like, I've never moved in that game as fast as I did with, 100+% speed and attack. It was crazy. So that was the most powerful I ever was. But you kind of need everything to go right with that to work. So maybe that's where you get some of that variance.
Was that a top side run or a bottom side?
Top side, I think.
Okay, I only ask because I think the idea of the Titan on the top side is funny to have like built up a ton of speed and just beat the shit out of him.
Yes.
In particular. It would be funny against any boss.
Yeah.
But him in particular I think would be especially amusing.
It was, and he just like melted. I've never melted anyone like that. Like he's going through phases like that. It was really funny. But yeah, so like that was a run that I loved. I like Zeus. I didn't think I was gonna like Hera, and I did pretty well. With the Hitch stuff.
I
Yeah,
don't
no,
like
Hitch
that
can be
one.
fun.
Okay.
I don't
Hitch is
even know
cool.
who.
But
Hera
like,
is.
The Hitch cast is really good too.
Yeah.
Is that the blue lady?
Oh, even like
Yeah.
the dash can be good too if you're avoiding enemies. Sometimes
Yeah.
it'll if you dash towards them for other reasons. But like the Hestia, Demeter, or Zeus can be greatly. I got it one of the runs I won where you get that ability where you can't do less than 50 damage
Yeah.
because then every one of the damage over time procs is just
Yes.
blip 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 blip
That
blip.
was
It's
awesome.
so much damage, but you need to have grabbed other sources of damage that are small ticks to get it to work. I mean, I like that. I like that there are some boons that are effectively they're dead if you pick it up and it's not your build, but you pick it up in the other build and you're like, oh my God, I just won this whole run. This is the one I need.
Yeah.
Like, I think that there's something good there, especially because the game isn't, I mean, if you want to take, like Chris said, like 10 rerolls, you can do it. You can start fishing for these things that you want, or you can just see what luck hands you and make the best of it. And if you know the build, you know the enemies, and you know the boss, routines, I found that it's easier for me to build a solid build because I now know what I could be getting, and I know what I need to be aiming for, and I know how to dodge certain attacks that I might have needed a boon to help mitigate in earlier runs. So like the more I think the game, I guess we can move on to like a topic of like difficulty overall. I feel like this game feels smoother in a way than maybe Hades 1 did, where like I feel like I'm learning the bosses and I'm reaching a point into the end game where I don't just feel like I'm putting purple things into a mirror and just getting stats like I felt like in the first one to get stronger. In so many ways, I feel like I hit my cap a little while ago. And now when I'm beating runs, it's because I'm just better at playing and picking things as I go.
And synergies and all of that. Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
And I don't know if you had a similar feeling, but like I'm routinely beating runs now. And I've maxed out my tarot a while ago. Like I'm not really increasing my stats anymore. I'm just playing better. And in a game that's giving me random options basically every time, that means I'm learning how to use the options I'm given more every time. So I feel like that curve worked really well in 2.
Yeah, we can talk about that. You reminded me to talk about the tarot, but
Same.
But before we get to that, I did think I like the challenge of 2. I think the bottom route is similarly comparable to the first game. I think the top route is quite a bit harder than the first game, but I found myself getting to the point where as I got better at the game, I preferred the top run because it got my heart going a little bit more than like the bottom run kind of became old hat a little bit. But that's what's great about the 2 routes is like you do the bottom one, you have a lot of fun with it, you start clearing it consistently, and then you have the top one to kick your teeth in until you get good at that too. And did wonders for the replay value and all of that. So I thought it was really well balanced. And, early on seems insurmountable almost. But then that's good because then you keep at it and you unlock new synergies and keep getting better. And that was fun.
I kind of wonder if the difficulty, I think you actually described it perfectly, to be honest. I think the bottom is like the first game and the top is harder. And I think the easiest way to put it is that the game is harder, but you have more tools to succeed.
Ah.
So like once you get to the point where Jason mentioned, where it's like, okay, things are starting to click. Now it's like, okay, now I can overcome this in a way that I couldn't before. And I think the tarot is a large part of the reason why, because you can tailor that to however you're going to go about a run. If you're going to use a lot of Omega stuff, then there's cards there waiting for you. If you don't want anything to do with that and you want to go boon, reroll, like rarity heavy, you can go towards the bottom half of it and do that. And that was the thing I wanted to ask the two of you in particular who played in early access was like, how did that change over time? Was that a system that was put in early? Did they iron out kinks? Because like, to me, that feels the most balance of anything because there's so many different builds. And I was surprised when you could unlock a thing in the cauldron that allowed you to like cycle between builds. But I was like, that makes sense because there's like 7 or 8 different ways I could look at this thing and it would all make sense. So like, how did that evolve over time in your time pre 1.0?
I'm the only one.
Sean's the only one that can answer this. Because I didn't do.
I don't know. So I played. There was a few updates. One of them released Ares. He was later in on the beta as well. I was the update right before that. So most of it was pretty good. They had the top route fully done. I think Narcissus didn't have his model yet, and that was like about it.
What did he look like?
He was just in a cloak.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which
That's
like
funny.
Weirdly at the time kind of fit in a weird way, although it is Narcissus. But it made sense to me. I was like, yeah, sure. But the tarot was there too. Certain things were a little bit different. I don't even know if I could tell you the differences, but some of the weapons were a little bit different and would do different things than what they ended up doing later. I think the one I can remember is ice cream cones were like more rapid fire and a little faster. It was more like a machine gun. And that was fun, but they probably rightfully nerfed it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
The tarot I did not like at first, and then I got used to it, and I appreciated it.
I think it's really clever because there's the more passive ones that activate when you meet other conditions I think are all really well thought out.
Yes.
The idea of, okay, you can only have 2 of each cost, and you look around at how that adds up and you're like, oh wow, I can see how that works, but I can't have that one if I do that, or ones in a row or a column, or the bottom right where you're like, well, I'm just going to pick 3 and we're going to see what happens. It's a fun little twist to a formula that I think is just like expertly thought out.
Yeah, it is. It's really fun, and Chris, like you, I did the one where it gave more to a million rerolls, especially trying to get all the boons that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
That was really fun for me. I thought the way that the upgrades went, which we can talk about as well, greater in depth, but I thought that all made sense, and I was progressing not too fast, but also feeling like it wasn't a long time before I made some advancement somewhere. You don't want too fast, but you also don't want to feel like it's been 5 runs since I've unlocked anything. I'm just stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of the tarots?
Oh, I don't know.
Great. Okay. What are you going to say, Jason?
I don't know.
I mean, as far as the tarots go, I was really I have one build. I don't branch out. I'm like, this is the thing that I like. I try to use it on everything, and I just sort of increased my stats, give myself some rerolls, and the damage that I felt applied to me the most. I could experiment with it more. I've certainly thought about it. I've unlocked everything, but I don't use them all. The one thing I wanted to touch on, going back a little bit, is we talked about the different paths. I just want to say I really like how different you talked about the difficulty, but the design philosophy on the other path, the new one, where the first area that you start out lets you choose all of the boons possible and then sort of pick whatever order you want.
Fun, actually.
The second area basically being very close confines where you have to then fight in the same area multiple times, so you kind of get to know what's there, but that's a very different feel than any of the other areas that you have. And then the top area, you can fall in to do damage. A lot of the enemies are harder, but that one's maybe the most normal of the areas. And then the top area where you don't get boons, buddy, best of luck. So that one is, I think the top area feels very different than the bottom. Not just in difficulty, but just in how you progress it. It's almost a completely different experience.
Yeah.
So many.
Which is good. Like, it isn't just difficult because they tweak numbers or threw bigger guys at you. It's more difficult in a way because, like, you're kind of doing a different kind of roguelike in a way. The bottom one mirrors the first game. All the areas are kind of roughly the same. You go from one to the other, you get a boon, room after room. The top area is not that. They changed that whole thing up as you went. And I like that, actually.
Yeah, I do too. But I mean, I would even say, bottom route is that's the one you're starting with. I would say first two areas, pretty Hades 1, coded or whatever. And then you get to the Morning Fields. It's a giant area that's all totally different. And then you fight a boss that's in a huge arena. And then the final area, it's still kind of Hades 1, but, getting to choose a shorter route, significantly shorter to get to the boss faster, or keep going and getting boons, which I think is the better thing to do.
True. Could you do that with the Satyr tunnels in?
Yes, right? Because
I think
kind of, right? Because you could go get the minimum. Once you find the bag, you could go fight the boss, or you could keep going back in after that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. So you couldn't guarantee that you could skip it, but you could potentially skip it if you wanted to. So if that's the case, then I would say I agree. But yeah, I saw the echoes of Hades 1 in that, where it's like it's possible to skip or do a shorter route, or you can stick around for more boons, which reminded me of that. You're right about the Morning Fields, though. That is the one that feels the most divergent from Hades 1 in the bottom.
It's kind of funny because I like the area the least, probably, but I appreciate
agree
that it's there, I guess.
Yeah.
By the way, did you guys take Death Defiance? You know who has two thumbs and didn't use Death Defiance in Hades 2? This guy.
I once I got to the point where I didn't need it anymore, I stopped because that was 5 cost. Now a lot of times if I didn't use Death Defy, I would have like Tula and Lucky Tooth just in case. But what is your deal, dude? But yeah.
Let me see if
okay. I did use it. I like having that insurance, even if I didn't need it until the end, where then I got to the point where I didn't need it anymore.
I am now at a point where I've done, I think, 2 runs where I think I died like maybe once or twice. So like I'm now at a point that maybe I should remove it from my tarot. But no, I'm a Death Defiance, like whatever. Put it on me. If I could be Tula and actually have 9 lives, I'd do it. Like, give it to me. I'll try it all the times. As far as I'm concerned, it's all health. You know what I mean? Like,
I stopped using it for a while because you needed Athena. She would show up if you didn't have any more with her artifacts. So I was like, okay, I needed her to show up. So, so that's routes. We talked about boons and weapons. I guess like characters, because it's a huge part of Hades, right?
We could talk about familiars. I like that familiars exist. Sure. There's a slight amount of like adjustment to your run if you're looking for certain resources, or if you're like me, you like the Death Defiance and just to have a cat with you that like attacks stuff when I'm running around and trying to survive. I know Doug really likes the frog a lot. I think that. Yeah, I think the familiars are a nice little adjustment to your play style that doesn't affect it enough so that if you just want to have like a cute doggo with you, you could just do that and it's probably not going to affect anything.
Well, and now my cat has a witch's hat because I've unlocked the like customizing your familiars.
That's amazing, and I need that. The problem is I don't even have the Raven because the piece of shit hasn't shown up more than once. Yeah. And I was like, hey, come join me, and then he flew away and I haven't seen him again. So and
I also think like you had kin to familiars in the first game, but you got them at like when you barely had any runs left. It's so late into that game. So I like that in this game you got them. I mean, your first familiar pretty early on, which I think speaks to so much of this game is more accessible and more thought out and player friendly than the first game. So even the forget-me-nots, where it's going to mark the thing that you need in every door, was so nice. Having the criteria built into the catalog where it shows you what you need for a certain legendary or a duo. So nice that I didn't have to have my phone open trying to use it as a guide to what I need. It was built in the game. It was just really, it was built with the player in mind. And I love so much of that.
it'll even tell you if you're looking for a resource, which of the doors had
Yes,
something
yeah,
in it.
exactly.
Mhm.
And like,
Yeah,
that's huge. Like, because man, yeah, trying to grind through runs and just hoping something pops up is like,
exactly.
nah.
There's less RNG in this game too.
Yeah, the most RNG I've had is like the Raven, and I needed Flux for the final black coat, the Nyx upgrade. And you the chaos things, as far as I know, don't have the forget me nots on them, so I would never know if they were there or not. And I obviously I don't know what's up with the Raven, but like yeah, and those have been frustrating for me, frankly. So the fact that the game tailors those down so much better. I
I
agree.
guess real quick before characters, I was going to do this to stall until Maisie came back but she's here because I know she likes the characters. I guess to wrap up systems, the Cauldron. How do we feel about the upgrades that the Cauldron provides? They're also pretty frequent, relatively small overall, except for a few notable exceptions. But like to Sean's point, it feels like it's part of that loop where it's like you've always gotten something out of a run, whether it's out of the Cauldron or the Tarot or whatever. But like, was there any Cauldron upgrades that really stood out to you?
It's been a while since I was really in the Cauldron, but I loved it. I love that there's like kind of two sides of it. There's one for like longer things that impact the game, and then there's like I need a resource, so like make that for me now. So I don't know. I really loved it. I thought it was a really smart system.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just agree with Shaw on that one. I like that they built a story caveat that feels witchy, that your Hecate's there and she'll say, you know, everyone's like, so mote it be, or like, oh, what an interesting thing that you're doing, or like, and then like it lets like Aphrodite show up and be like, oh, you know, you can always make this on your own or whatever. And then like you just learn a recipe and you're like, oh, cool. And all they just keep adding it to one system, whether it's plot relevant or just like, hey, I need 2 more holes to bury my nightshade or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's great, I think, because it's one area. It's the sort of thing where like in another game, they'd be like, here's your one menu to do everything. And you'd be like, that's kind of boring, but like it feels really good doing it. She does the little incantations. You have to gather the obscure resources for it. And it just works. It fits. It fits thematically. And
you have the Cauldron and you have the garden, which is fun. And I know Maisie loved.
I really love that.
Yeah. And then you have the delivery shit. And then you have the prophecies. So there's like I have a nice little like sequence of things that I do every run. And then you want to do those first before you talk to anybody, because you give somebody bath salts or fishing, that can actually take time towards the other things. So it's just like, it's really smart. And I found myself like, there was a period of time where my favorite time spent with the game was not in the actual game, but it was going back to my hub and saying, what did I unlock? Who is there to talk to? And I love that.
I'm of the same mind.
Yeah, there's more to do in that hub than in Hades 1. And this can kind of bridge into the, I guess, the character discussion. The cast of characters is better in this game, I feel, more broad. And that improves the hub itself when they come and you meet them or whatever. You've got enemy like bosses, not just like Megara, your old girlfriend or whatever, but like Ares will show up. And then you get like Icarus will be there. And then Artemis gets the singing, and Saloon has showed up, or Salune. Like all of these, some people will be missing sometimes. You're like, I wonder what they're doing. Or like, it felt like the hub brought all these characters together, and the cast of characters was a little bit more broad than just like, these are the people that work for Hades, and I guess they're all here in the house, basically. Like we get visiting gods of other kinds. We get more shades that feel interesting. I guess. Wow. I guess that can bridge open just the character discussion. I felt the cast of characters was broader and better in this game than in 1. I appreciate that 1 keeps it a little bit smaller in the family, almost literally, but I like the cast better in this game. They feel more eccentric and eclectic in a way that there's just more personalities, I guess.
I do have something to say on that. Chris, you had mentioned something though, before I forget, on when we were talking about the hub itself and the gardening and all of that. What was, I wanted to, if you still remember it.
No.
Okay. So I The characters I like, there's so much more of them, and they represent different areas. I think I overall liked the first cast just a little bit better. Maybe that's the first time because it's the first time I'm doing that system. They stood out to me a little bit more. Whereas like Odysseus, for example, he's fine. Actually, this is maybe my first like actual complaint. So, and I don't want to spoil anything. I felt like, and Chris, I know you've gotten here for sure. Certain characters, it's less about like a lot of times helping them through an issue that they have and more like, oh yeah, okay, well now I'm aware of a thing, thanks. And then like that's the end. I felt like a lot of them ended at like the act 2 of their journey and their act 3 just like isn't there. Am I crazy or did you get that same thing?
I got the same thing. It's one of the biggest complaints remaining with the game now that the ending has been fixed. I do think that the characters themselves, I think you're both right, weirdly enough. I think Jason's right that I like the cast overall more because there's more of them and they're interesting. They all have really good dialogue. Some would say almost too much dialogue. It's a yap fest sometimes, but the voice acting's great and the writing's good, so whatever. But I don't feel like there's the depth. So there's the breadth. Like we have a lot more characters that are interesting and you can kind of lock into a few you like. But I don't think both relationship-wise and just going down like I keep feeding them nectar path stuff is as strong. Yeah, I just a feeling, but I've seen other people mirror that as well. Odysseus in particular gets some slander, and it's like I don't know if he deserves hate. He is a little boring at times, but he's just kind of your tactician guy, and he occasionally gives you free stuff, and he's got some fun interactions with the gods he talks about, so he's fine. Yeah. But I don't know if I have as many standout characters as I did in the first game, but I like the cast overall more.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Maisie?
Oh no, I just realized.
Well, okay. Wow.
All right.
I heard a gasp, and I'm thinking, oh, Mason's going to launch into his great point.
Sorry.
I remembered him.
And that's really what I struggle with. I don't know who the fuck any of these people are. I don't read mythology. My brain is too small. And so, like, the first game was pretty easy for me to digest, right? Like, there was only 4 or 5 gods. And here there's, like, whoever the fuck these people are. And I'm like Jason, over the weekend when we were all hanging out, like you had mentioned who the boss is at the top, which I hadn't made it there yet, but I had no idea who the fuck the guy was. So like, it wasn't a spoiler for me because I'm like, who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah.
Must be a god, right? No, not exactly.
Yeah.
And we haven't even said the name Melinoi yet, so who knows who that is?
Yeah.
But like,
that's my cat. That's my cat.
No, and even with your cats, I'm like, what are those?
Yeah.
What is that?
Dora, for example, without too many spoilers, Jason, I don't know if you've completed that.
I have not, but
you basically like help her get some memories back, and then there's like there should be like a next thing that happens, and there's just kind of not. It's just like, okay, thanks.
Interesting.
I got my memories. Cool.
I haven't maxed out. Yeah, I have not maxed out a single character yet. So that's interesting to hear. I don't know that I maxed out anybody in the first game though. I might have maxed out like 1, maybe. Like that is how I beat the game in 1, and I was like, beautiful, like I'm done. And I realized that there was stuff I haven't done in the first game, but I was still happy with it. I'm wondering if I'll have a similar situation with 2 here, or if I'll feel the need to try to finish all those off, and then I'll feel disappointed like you guys have.
Now
that's interesting.
I do love Melinoi though, like a lot.
Oh,
she's great. So
I
talking about the characters maybe not having the same depth, or maybe being a little bit disappointed. I thought she was great, as strong as Zagreus, just about. But like a different sort of approach, and as it should be, because her life was very fucking different. A lot higher stakes for her. Whereas Zag was just like, the very, very personal story.
Mr. Zagreus right now.
Zagreus here himself.
Yeah. Extremely personal story. There's actually very little stakes in the first one, actually, which is refreshing. This is a very different game. The plot demands it. And I felt like you're rooting for her, even though it's a kind of a darker approach and it's more driven out of necessity.
And I think I like Melinoi more than Zagreus overall, though it's close, and I like both quite a bit. but like they don't even work in each other's games. Like you can't have Zagreus cracking jokes as much as he does in the first game. In this game, it doesn't make any sense tonally.
Right.
So
Exactly.
like you needed a different protagonist, you needed a different feel. So like you can like one more than the other, but they needed to have their own approach.
Yeah.
And I actually like that she's a straight man. Like every time Skelemaeus says some off the chain
Best
bullshit
shit in the game.
right over her head, and she'll be like, I see you're trying to get me to admit this. And he's like, yeah, that's absolutely what I'm trying to do. And she'll be like, well, Commander, keep up the good work. And like, she doesn't get it.
Yeah.
I like that she's like completely blind to that. But at the same time, yeah, she's got a mission. And I'm already seeing it now, but I had wondered how they were going to, like, Zag is like the god of blood in like the mythology, what little mythology exists for these characters. And Melinoi is like kind of the goddess of like nightmares, kind of, or something akin to that. And sorry, he wants to chase a mouse on my screen. But like, as we're going through this game, especially certain revelations about the plan become manifest, and she becomes angry or like frustrated at things, you can see where the idea that she is just this nightmare that haunts people, or that she can be terrifying, kind of shines through a little bit. And in many ways, like, there are certain elements of the Melinoi like myth where like she wears saffron. They do that in this game. They talk about her having like a procession of ghosts behind her. There's a reason all those little ones follow you whenever you like beat a run and whatnot.
Really?
Like that's why. And she's like collecting shades as she goes. Like these are all things that. Oh, he found my ice cream. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, boop. That like, I like the way that they chose to like articulate the myth or bring it into fruition in Hades 2, whereas in Hades 1, granted they don't have as much to work on with Zagreus, and it is a story about blood and about family and that kind of thing, or like rebirth, and Zag is very good at that in that game. But to make a character that's like, this is a character of nightmares who has a procession of ghosts, and to turn into a character that you want to root for, and she's very empathetic and she cares, but like that stern, like straight man nature of hers, and she has a mission to accomplish, that's where that element of the god shines through. Like she's going to get this done, even if like that means that she is your personal nightmare forever and ever, because you're the god of time and she's going to kill you as many times as it takes, buddy. Yeah, she's going to haunt you forever. You know what I mean? Like that's cool. I like that.
There is an aspect of that people were hoping for was going to be more present in the original ending, which I can't really talk about. And I will say that the changes to the ending don't lean in that direction either. So the fan crafting wasn't exactly what happened, but I think they still went in a much more satisfying direction. But people were hoping they were going to lean into the nightmare aspect of her even more. So to your point, like they do make a lot of references to it. Some people wanted them to go all the way. They did not, and the new ending does not fix that, but it still makes for a much more satisfactory ending.
Yeah, and see, I'm already kind of satisfied. I've already had one character be like, oh, another nightmare, and like, because they recognize that if Melinoi is here, it's a nightmare basically. Cute. And it's like, okay, it's a little nod to what's going on with her, and so I like that. But yeah, I like that she isn't Zagreus, and I like her personality. I think they artfully use a very different character archetype in their writing with her than they did with Zag, so you don't feel like the games are telling the same kind of story. To like Sean's point, one of them is this personal story about family and relationships. That's the first game, and the second one is like, it's a war story in some ways. Like it's just this big grand scale thing, but I still feel like you get a lot of time with the characters in a way that is satisfying. But I could also understand if some people are like, I prefer the first game in the smaller story. I mean, I have that feeling about BioShock, for example. Hades 2 sort of feels like the BioShock 1, and Hades 1 feels like the BioShock 2, whereas in BioShock 2, it's a very personal story that resonates. I get it, I guess is what I'm saying. But yeah.
There's a few other things we could touch on quickly. Music, I like both games. There's been debate about, well, which one's better? And I'm like, I don't know. I have them very close. There are certain vocal tracks, especially in 1, that I really like, but there's some really cool ones in 2 as well, especially with the ability to join in and harmonize.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of Melina Wee's voice actress, but she's clearly got pipes in addition to being able to deliver a good vocal performance as well. So
Yeah.
like the music's cool, the graphics are about identical. There's not really a lot between the 2 games to separate them. And we've talked about story and characters. So I guess we're at the point where, is there anything else before we start looking to score?
I guess I will just say, if you play Hades 1 on the OLED screen, but if you play Hades 2, there's a huge difference. So like, yeah, graphically it's not night and day, but like the use of colors, the use of the dimension. I think Jason, you mentioned this. It's actually 2D as opposed to like 3D animation was used in the first one.
I've just noticed it when I booted mine up. It looked so much more like kind of janky 3D at certain parts when I'm running around in Hades 1, whereas in Hades 2, it looks more 2D, like a lot flatter, but in a way that looks better, more high fidelity. I could be making that up, but that was just the feeling when I booted my Hades 1 up. It just didn't look as good for that reason.
When I think about like Cerberus, for example, looks a lot better than like the Hydra did, for example. So
Hydra was bad. And it did really pop on that OLED screen when I did see that over Maisie's shoulder. Like there was a difference there.
Yes, it's crazy. I still am like,
God. I will say on the soundtrack, I kind of think it's like apples and oranges. Like you listen to like Hades 2, I think has a very distinct feel in that it's a much more like haunting, almost like digital track at times. It sounds more electronic, where it kind of fades in between the kind of like typical instruments and then the more electronic, whereas in the Hades 1 it would go from the more sort of traditional instruments to like a more heavy metal or like a rock kind of thing. And I think it gives both of them their own feel between the 2 siblings, even though the sort of the themes are still there and like a lot of that kind of stuff. So like I don't know. I like it. It shows the difference between the siblings in the games, but they feel very, very samey, same, but different. You know?
Quality was, I think, similar. I think the first one is more like iconic. Like I could hear any of the music of the first game, and be like, boom, place it immediately. There's a lot of songs in the second game I enjoy listening to, but it's not like, oh my god, now it's imprinted in my brain.
The only one I would say for Hades 2 is the bottom final area.
You love that clock.
One's so good.
Yeah.
I do not like the upstairs music.
Really? See, and I like my favorite area is I think the necropolis, the area, the top area, the very first top area. Really like that track for the city up there. Yeah, I really like that one.
Olympus was weird for me up top, maybe because it's loud. I don't know why it's mixed so loud compared to everything else going on. So like it fits with the idea of like, oh, God's triumphant, blah, blah, blah. But the first time that came in, I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Why is this twice the volume of the rest of the soundtrack?
It's really bad every time Prometheus will like say a line and you're like, what? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you over the sound of these trumpets going burp, 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 around every time.
Yeah, it's just like, I no, just get out of here with that.
Yeah. I thought the vow mechanic was pretty fun, and I thought that what it changed in the boss fights stood out to me more than the changes in the first game. I don't know, Chris, you're probably the only one who's done a lot of that at this point.
Right.
But I thought that was interesting. And like, Chris, the first boss, going up, for example, and who joins that character.
Yes, actually, I've done that one.
Too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do know
That's
that one.
Interesting.
That was fun. It is, and it was a very different boss fight. I was like, oh man, I'm suddenly, I got to be on my toes suddenly. It was very different than just beating up that boss like I always had been doing.
I'm generally not a huge fan of just difficulty scaling in roguelikes unless I really like it. So the fact that it has those different mechanics to it, and like it keeps you on your toes in a way that a lot of other ones don't, where it's just like, and this game has some of those. Well, everything has more health, everything has a shield, everything. But there are other things that really keep it fresh in a way that I was willing to dive into those challenges. I also like the game a lot, so that's part of it. But there are other times where, like the first Monster Train's a game I liked quite a bit, and I started getting into the difficulty scale and stuff, and I'm like, I'm not that interested.
Yeah, right.
So
exactly.
This was one that really kept things feeling fresh, and like it was worthwhile to do it for reasons other than just make it harder.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the other alternate versions of those bosses. If anything, to get the dialogue and like to see what it looks like, and just all that, because the two I've done so far, which are both of them on both sides, have both been really fun. So
yeah, I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, the Typhon one is a fucking bitch. But I think you should try it because you get some really interesting story stuff and some like cool mechanics that happen, and you're like, oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
I will say that I just wanted to say this because I feel like anyway, when I realized who the dog was that you're like battling and what his like reward thing was, it being the tears, I cried. I fucking cried. And still when I battle him and Melena was like, it's okay. I'm like, oh my God, I just want to cry.
Yeah.
I'm so sad.
That's
and I still try to like pet him and he's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's interesting because people kind of wanted that in the first game and you didn't get it. Well, be careful what you wish for, because here it is.
And I remember telling Sean when I first saw Cerberus, like on the bridge, I'm like, I will quit this game if they make me fight Cerberus.
Yeah.
He was like, no, it's okay. Just trust me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually that's a good point. Like even that final area, you finding Hades all locked up and Cerberus is there, and there's a lot of little cool stuff like that keeps it fresh, and that's why like so much of the game is just Hades 1 but more. But that's a little reductive, I think, to say, because like the whole new route, all the thought that they put into everything, like it really does feel like it. I mean, easily justifies its existence as a sequel. I loved it. I guess if we don't have anything else to cover, we can start to get to like scores and stuff.
Yep. What's your score? Knowing that a couple people haven't quite finished it yet, but have played enough certainly to qualify with a score. And also, is it better than the first game?
Woof, that's hard. Is anyone ready to go?
I suppose I can if you want time to think.
Please.
But if Jason's ready and
I
locked and loaded, then go for it.
No, I mean, go for it.
Oh, okay. The reason this is difficult, I mean, I don't think we ever, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, but I don't think we ever actually reviewed Hades 1, right? Because we played it at kind of different times across us. Dave played it way later than the two of us. I played it later than you, I think.
The best we ever did, I think, was I said I did a game of the year, and I said, had I played this game, it would have been my game of the year. Like I did like a retroactive thing. I don't think we ever gave it a score, though, no.
I have to be very careful about how I talk about this because I have experienced more of it than anybody else here. Did I lose Jason or did Jason lose Jason?
No,
He's covering.
You fell into the cat.
That's fine. I'm just making sure because I'm a little nervous about the setup right now. So I saw all black and I went, oh no.
Oh no.
No, that's just...
Okay, good. The new ending helped. The new ending raises the score on this by at least a half a point. I was not as upset about the ending as other people, and again, I don't want to go into this too much because I'm speaking vaguely on purpose. But it did feel a little flat. It did feel like a little bit of lost agency for someone in particular. So it was difficult to have that be the ending because it felt underwhelming, to be blunt. And the changes they made, I have to give Supergiant credit because it would have been easy to apologize for the original ending of this game feeling underwhelming and be like, oh, like we thought this direction was this, and like we're sorry it didn't resonate. To go back in and record new dialogue and put in a new fight and do all this other stuff shows a level of commitment that we expect from Supergiant and why these games got so popular in the first place. As a whole, this is going to probably be reminiscent of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, where I think 2 is a better game, but I like 1 more.
Sure.
I'm going to give Hades 2 a 9.5. I would give the first game a 10.
Yeah.
This is a better game. It's more fun to play. The gameplay and the combat's more exciting overall. There's a lot more options and more to do like we talked about. But the personal story of 1 is one that resonated with me more, and that's the same thing that keeps me on RDR 1 and Kingdom Hearts 1. In this case, I feel like with Hades in particular, I like him as an antagonist a lot more than I do Kronos. I can't talk about what happens with Kronos, but I just feel like what we have in the first game, I think, is more direct stakes to me.
But I don't think that, like, if the ending, let's say it was what everybody wanted, would that have pushed it to a 10 for you, would you say?
I don't think so.
Because that's not the case for me either.
I don't think, without retooling everything, what they did, God, how do I talk about it? What they did made the best they could out of all the other choices they had already made.
Yes.
Without completely retooling a whole lot more, that was about the best they could do given the circumstances. And because that's the case, like, again, I think I had the first Hades as a 10, one of my rare 10s.
Yeah.
This was going to be a 9 with the original ending like 3.5 weeks ago when I finished it. It is now a 9.5. I don't think it could go any higher.
Yeah. And I'm saying both, which is like a weird thing to say, because Chris, you summed it up, so I won't go way into depth, but I thought the balancing was better. I thought it was more fun to play. I thought there was more to do. I so appreciate the extra route.
Yes.
Because in the first game, you're like, oh, another run, but you know exactly what's going to come in those 4 levels. So to have that variety was huge. I'd probably rather go back and play the second one, and yet the first one being the first one that did it, capturing that lightning in a bottle, I thought it was really just magic. And then I thought they nailed it. So to be the first one that did it, and the second one kind of improves upon it, I still think the first one deserves that credit. So I also had 9.5. And I'll go into like 9.6, 9.4, 9.45. I just think 9.5 is absolutely perfect for my thoughts on the game. And it is my second best game of the year. If it was not for a game that I consider to be like generational, it would easily be my game of the year.
Well, at some point, I'll play Clair Obscura.
You need to.
He's talking about Silk Song. No, he's not.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Number three. But
in a good year.
Yeah. But I would say the gap between Clair Obscura and Hades 2 is not huge. The gap between Hades 2 and Silk Song, quite a bit bigger, and everything following.
Where does Silent Hill F
fall? Down the list more. So really good though. Yeah, 9.5. What do you think, Jason?
I think I'd be willing to give it. I was gonna say like 8.5, 9. I could even go up to 9.5. The problem is that because I haven't finished it, I don't yet see the emotional payoff. So for me, it's just I'm like in the middle of the game, assuming there will be a payoff at some point, because I've been enjoying the journey. So like in a way, I'm just sort of rating the game as the journey so far. And I have greatly enjoyed, I think, this journey in this game a lot. You are correct. It's not as personal. It's not as emotional. Like your desire to get to the end of it hinges less on wanting to like rebuild this relationship, which is like the crux of the first one. And when you get invested in that, that's why you're doing it. In this game, I feel like I'm doing it because like I want to restore what I liked about the first game. So in a way, I'm almost fighting for the first game in a way. Like I'm fighting for that thing that I cared about, and I want to see how it's going to resolve. How is this battle going to figure itself out? Where are these characters going to end up? There's a mystery that I'm trying to solve in a way, and the gameplay to uncover all these layers. How are they going to defeat these enemies? What are the steps necessary? Where does everyone end up? I feel like I'm enjoying it so much more because the gameplay is better. So like in a weird way right now, not seeing the ending, I've been enjoying Hades 2 more than Hades 1, because I can get on, boot up, do a run, and it's going to be more fun than some of the stuff I was doing in Hades 1. In fact, sometimes they throw you back to those Hades 1 areas where like there's lava everywhere, and I just want to kill myself. I hate them. So like, it's just like when it comes down to area per area, enemies, boons, weapons, everything, I feel like I'm getting so much more meat out of this game that I enjoy every piece of it.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to not rate it higher than 1, but I also haven't finished it. And it's possible I get to the ending and I feel a little empty and I'm like, I don't know. And maybe it won't be it. So that's tough. So I don't know that I can say which one I like better than the other one in totality. Right now, in the journey, almost at the cusp of getting to the ending, it's in sight. I can see it on the horizon. I'm just not there. I would have to say like 9.5 probably. But I think I enjoy 2 better than 1.
So you're saying like 9.5. It could maybe jump up to a 10 if they really nail the ending for you, and if they don't quite nail the ending, it could drop to maybe like a 9. Is that?
Sure. Yeah. The thing is, I
Yeah.
don't even know that I would say the original Hades was like a 9.5. I might give it like a 9 because
Okay.
like there was a lot of it that I just didn't complete or feel the need to go through. It never, and the problem is I always sort of chalked it up to playing early access, and I did not play a lot of the early access of this game. Effectively, none of it. They announced the game was going to come out. They did their final patch before the release, and I was like, cool. I played it, I think 1 or 2 weeks ahead of it coming out. It was like nothing. So I think the only thing that was still in beta when I got in there is Salune showed up at one point in the camp and she was in the cloak. That was it. Everything
Okay.
else, I didn't notice a single change. So like for me, I feel like I've gotten the full experience all the way through. That was not the case with Hades 1. So some of it may just be on me, but if I had to like rate them, I might give Hades 1 like a 9 and like Hades 2 a 9.5. I don't know that they're perfect or like amazing. I love basically everything Supergiant does. It's like ever since Transistor, which is maybe the most emotional story I think I've ever actually played through, or one of, I guess. But like, so I don't know. I respect your guys' reviews on it. It's very possible that I'll agree with you once I get to the end. But right now, if I had to boot one up, I'd rather boot up Hades 2 like any day of the week, I feel. So.
And to give Maisie one more second, I just think like, well, what would it have taken? Because I keep saying Hades 1 was better, or like Hades 2 was like overall kind of a better experience, and yet I can't give it a 10. It's like, well, what would it have needed to do? That's not fair. I think, like we said, the character, some of the character things a little bit stronger, a little bit more of the journeys. I think the ending, sure. I actually don't even care that much about that, really. There's also a little bit, some of the additions like the agriculture and the tools and the familiars, like a lot of these additions I felt were strong. When we start getting into like, well, you also have fishing lures and bath salts and like, there was some stuff I thought made a lot of sense. There was some stuff I thought we don't need a million different currencies and a million different flowers, and it starts to get hard to keep track of. And I thought that some of it was great addition. Some of it maybe felt like a little bit of bloat. So that's because we have to go bigger and better, but in some ways it was bigger and not necessarily better.
I'll tell you what, I think maybe like a perfect game is if you remastered Hades 1, same story, same characters, keep all that the same, but you've got the sprint in the Omega attacks.
I was wondering about that. I don't know. I had that thought of like, maybe would they ever try that and like give some of the gameplay additions, maybe give it another route or something. But then maybe you're changing the core game too much.
I don't even know that you need the other route. Like, I guess you could add a couple different more variations on the levels that exist or something like that. But like, I go back to play 1 and it's just like attack, special, throw thing, dash. And it's like, man, I feel that void of being able to just like, I gotta sprint when I need to go someplace instead of using my dashes. I can save them up. I can charge up these really big attacks. Every weapon effectively has 4 different kinds of attacks in Hades 2. That is not the case in Hades 1. And like just that variety in every single battle and every single moment that you're trying to defeat a room feels so much better.
Well, and the aspects do more different things as well. Yeah. Honestly. So, and it's not just like this one gives you more health. This one has a cloud that follows you and zaps it. It's like totally different. So I think that is astute.
If they had remastered Hades 1 with just weapon adjustments, I guess the boons adapted to reflect that, I think we'd be talking about maybe like a perfect 10 game or something like that. Like, I think that might be enough to push it for me.
All right, what's your score?
I don't know a score because I haven't.
What's it so far?
Similar to Jason, like I haven't. The only emotional like connection I have was with Cerberus. I feel like that's not enough for me to rate it. But it's really good. And I'm a very simpleton type of person. I think I liked Hades 1 a lot more than this one.
Oh, okay.
Because Hades 1 is so simple. All it is 3 things for each weapon, right? And so it for me at least, it seemed so much easier and much more attainable to 100% the game, and it seemed much more like exciting for me too. with Hades 2, I'm excited to do it, but it's feeling a lot more daunting because there's so many like extra things to do and extra things to keep track of and extra things to like know and extra people, and it's much more overwhelming for me.
This is your opinion, right? So
It's
with that
fact.
said, I disagree with I agree and disagree. So I agree with you that, like we talked about, there is a bit too much stuff, especially when you get into the type of flowers and seeds and different type of currencies, and then moon dust, and then darkness, and then stardust, and all this shit. As far as the simplicity, like you can just approach the game with attack, special, and cast. Like the Omega stuff is there if you want to engage with it, and if you don't have to.
And I rarely did.
Yeah.
But to your point, you can even argue that the end of the game is based on a currency. So it's like, okay, we might have gone a little bit too far in that. And Jason's in that
Yes.
process right now where it's
Yes.
like, okay, now I'm really only doing a run to get a currency. And it's like, I don't know if that was necessarily the best choice.
Right. Yeah.
And I guess I do really appreciate them, like especially with like relationships, right? I feel like so often I didn't know where I was with somebody, so I was like, hey, you want another nectar? Or do you hate me yet? Do you like me? What do I have to do to make you like me? And here it's a lot more clear on like, oh, they'd like bath salts now, or they'd like, whatever. Yeah. I do appreciate that. I do appreciate like the clarity of things.
Well, that's what I think. The other thing to Jason in a remaster that I would want is like more clarity on that stuff too, and not just fucking guessing.
Yeah.
or like knowing Meg is supposed to have a conversation with me and it's not proccing. Why is it not proccing? And I know you're kind of experienced that with the Raven, Jason, but overall, I have not had that in this game of like, why is this one thing that should be happening not fucking happening?
Yeah.
And it is driving me crazy.
That's true.
So yeah, I think there actually is a world where you could remaster and just take quality of life stuff from the second one and add it to the first one, and that'd be really good. But
yeah, I don't think Supergiant's the kind of company to do that. They usually don't even do sequels, so it's maybe these will be the big game changers for them, and they'll just sit on the Hades train forever. I don't know if they've officially said what they're going to do. I wouldn't be surprised if they move on to something else. I feel like they've in a weird way been working towards perfecting the roguelike genre in a way that I don't even know that they expected. Their top-down gameplay from Bastion to Transistor was really good, and you can see the difference in the polish and as they move forward. And then the sort of choose your own adventure in Pyre of like building your own narrative, and every choice that you make changes something, and yada, yada, yada. I feel like lended itself well to how they handle dialogue and the multiple interactions, and sort of like you're talking with this god. What was the last thing that you were talking with them about? Is now they're going to talk to you about this because you just did that, or you're holding this item, or you're doing whatever. Like that kind of dialogue thing works well in Hades, and they've refined that, I feel like, even further in Hades 2. I am very interested to see what they do now, because they could remaster. I think it'd be successful, but it's not really their style. But I don't know what they do.
Well, what they should do is do a Hades remaster or Hades 3, whatever, every like few years, just to fund like their other game. You know what I mean? Like,
and what they do in the epilogue, which is separate from the ending stuff, the changes to that don't affect the epilogue. What they do there does leave the door open for a Hades 3. I don't think they're going to do it anytime soon. But there is a little bit of a seed planted where you could be like, okay, that might be the direction they would go in if they chose to go that route.
Oh, cool. I like that. Yeah, I mean, it's some of the most fun I've ever had with the game, which is funny because the things that you're comparing it to is this year, I mentioned the generational game, and then Hades 1, which is it's our top 10 games of all time. So it makes it almost seem like we didn't like it. I fucking love this game so much.
If you're listening and you've somehow have never played this game or you haven't decided, you should play this game.
Oh yeah. Because I was in early access, I probably played it the most out of all. I mean, I think I've cleared it like 80 times now or something like ridiculous. I love it. I think it's amazing. Does it reach the heights of the first one? Maybe not quite, but like it's a really, really good game. Some of the most fun I've ever played. Justified my Steam Deck purchase by itself.
Justified my Switch that I bought like cheap and was like, I guess I'll eventually get a game I like enough to do it. cross save with my Steam account.
Oh yeah.
Between Switch, game changing. I can do whatever I want on my computer, play it there, and then it just saves it to the effing cloud, and I pull it off on the Switch, do what I need to do, get home, upload that. Now it's on the computer.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Awesome.
I think it's the first time I turned on my Switch in 6 months.
Yeah.
I think it's certainly enough in this franchise that we really like, and just in general that we could come back to this in the new year. You know, we have episodes lined up basically from now until mid-January, but by that point, the two on the right here may have also beaten the game, and we could revisit this and actually talk about what was your experience with the new ending only? What was it like if you heard about the old ending? What do you think about the epilogue? We could get into that with more detail.
Well, I would like to do it too, because I didn't realize, I felt like it would change like more cosmetic, and it sounds like no, it's worth experiencing.
They got new
ending.
voice acting, new art, new all sorts of stuff. Like, they did not hold back on a relatively quick turnaround. I mean, it was only 3.5 weeks after the release where they put this new content in a patch.
Yeah.
To their credit. So there's a lot there. I mean, it's not the most controversial ending. It's not like Mass Effect 3 over here, but it's still, I think for most people it was disappointing because Supergiant's track record is so good, and this felt tone deaf at best.
Okay. Okay.
So there's a lot to go over in a potential future episode when we can talk about the ending specifically, and then how it relates to the overall story. Because, like, there are things I'd love to say about Kronos or Malinois or whoever, and I can't.
Yeah. Maisie, we need your score still.
Oh.
Yeah, for now.
And I know you say you don't want to give a score, but I want you to give a score just so we can compare it to later.
I mean, as of right now, like an 8.5.
Okay.
All right.
All right, that's fine.
I also have to say Cersei's Island is my favorite.
Because the pigs.
Because of all the pigs.
Ah, yes.
When I saw them, I was like, oh my God!
Yeah.
And her little thing is a pig. Ah, fucking great.
God, there's so much more little stuff of that. Cersei and Medea and even Icarus and Arachne. Yeah, little.
That's really cool.
Yeah, they get to pull from mythology so much more. And like I said, I feel like the cast is so much more eclectic in that regard.
Yeah.
You get
definitely
all of this stuff from all these different corners. Like, I knew Medea because she's Jason's wife for a while before they don't get along. But like, so I knew the Jason the Argonaut story because I was like, oh, there's a guy named Jason. What's his story? So I knew that was his wife. So like, but like, you just, all these characters, Arachne, like, this just in so many ways. You get all this Greek mythology, and you're not just limited to these like Chthonian gods from the underworld, or the handful of underworld stories like Orpheus and Eurydice and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it's cool.
Well, the main point still stands. Play Hades 2.
And Hades 1.
Yeah. Chris, is it your, and I know it's you watched the end of Clair Obscur, so maybe it's not totally fair, but like, is Hades 2 your game of the year this year?
We'll see.
Oh, teasing.
Those episodes are coming up in less than 2 months by the time this airs.
That's true.
We'll have a complicated top 10. I think there's a lot of really good games this year. There's only 4 in my mind that even really rise to the level of game of the year. But I think there's a lot of really strong releases this year, which is surprising because we thought it might be a bit of a down year. And it turns out, no, thanks to the indies and not the major companies, we're doing just fine.
Yeah, I think it's been one of the better years, actually.
Like, there's going to be some stuff crowded out of the top 10 that's just going to get shoved into honorable mention, and it's not even because I didn't have a chance to play it or because it was like, oh, it's so-so. There's going to be top 10 quality games that don't make the cut this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, that's the end of this episode. Next week is episode 700, so please, if you can, join us live Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Hopefully the things I have planned are going to work. If not, I'm going to have to pivot to something else. I don't know if I'll have my hard drive back or not. But fingers crossed. Either way, we'll do something special for episode 700, so please join us again live, 8 p.m. Arizona time. That's 10 p.m. Eastern because Daylight Savings Time is a motherfucker. After that, episodes 701 to 705 for the month of December are going to be our TV show theme song tier list. That's a mouthful. And then the first 2 episodes of January will be the best of 2025. So,
best shows of the year.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week for episode 700.